Welcome back to another video. This is protected by copyright. It's based on publicly available material and comments are encouraged. So, UK, as we know, has moved in recently to a new place in the Papa, following what she describes as running for her life. And this video basically is an educational video, just to address what has been said about UK's current living arrangements. So people are laughing at UK's house, calling it a security house, a narrow house, where is she living? So this essentially is UK's house. You can see here it's extremely narrow. It just goes straight across from one side to the other. And that essentially is the house. Apart from a small kitchen and bathroom at the back, this is where she's going to be living with her two boys, aged 11. I think her youngest is about 7 years old. So the house, as you can see, is extremely small. They have these large tiles on the floor, and those tiles are roughly about 60 by 60 centimeters. So if you use the tiles to measure that house, it's 3 large tiles across, which is about 6 foot, and then 9 large tiles in length. So that's about 18 foot. So it is a very, very narrow house. And this is the reason why people are maybe mocking UK, saying how on earth is she going to manage in that house with 2 growing boys in that house? Is it possible? So in this video, I want to see, do they have any justification for saying such things? So UK's house that people are calling a security house actually is what people call a tiny house. A tiny house worldwide is a huge phenomenon. It's not lived in by poor people. It's lived in by people who actually are quite well to do, but they believe in living this minimalist type of life. So you can see here, if you search on YouTube, for instance, videos upon videos with hundreds of thousands of views looking at how people are living in tiny houses. So this is an example of a tiny house which actually has 2 stories. You can see how narrow it is, just like UK's house. This is another tiny house. And here you can see another tiny house. Look at the car outside. Does that look like a poor person's house? Here, this is another tiny house as narrow as
Leah's
UK's
tiny
house
on wheels uses...
And this is another tiny house. This one, you can see they've actually taken the time to really think about the space. So maybe one thing UK can do is build some outdoor space, like a very small veranda over the front door, so that, the good thing is that Nigeria is warm, it's hot, so that during the daytime, they're not stuck in that house. Even when it's raining, they can actually sit out on the veranda. And, the last time I was in Lagos, they even sell these type of things here, this kind of hanging chair. So there are lots of things that can actually be done with a tiny house. And like I said, it's a big phenomenon worldwide, and it's been shown time and time again that tiny houses are not just for individuals. They can actually work for families. So these are examples.
They're under couch store.
So you can see here a tiny house, an aerial shot of a tiny house, and you can see essentially this is the house. You can see the seating area. You might say to yourself, where do they sleep? I'm going to show you that later on. But this is a tiny house.
And can also be used...
And this is another tiny house.
Extra storage, such as...
That looks just like UK's house. This is another tiny house. This one you can actually see there's a bed up here. Now, UK, I have to say I'm very impressed because recently I found out that she actually graduated with physics. Physics is one of the most difficult, in fact, it's the most difficult undergraduate degree to study worldwide, not just in Nigeria, but if you go to the US, UK, physics is the most difficult degree. So the reason why I say I'm so impressed is because, number one, not only is it difficult, but to do it as a woman, even more impressive. But the reason why I think physics will actually work so well for UK now is because she will understand things such as areas, forces. She will understand that if she actually manages to get people to design the inside of the house with some of the examples I'm going to show her, she will actually be able to really think about constructing things which are actually going to work for her in her house. So you can see here they've actually put a bed up here. Now whether that house can actually withstand that, I'm not too sure, because I'm not sure it's been built to actually maybe support like another story or even something on the inside. So that might not be possible for UK, but this is just to show you the possibility.
Trish and Saul's tiny home
So as I said before, another tiny house, aerial shots. Look how narrow this house. This essentially is just the house. And this is another. aerial shot, you can see here, this is the living space. They've actually got their kitchen incorporated into the living space, and then at the back you've got the, the washing machine, and then that essentially is a shower room, and then they convert this into their sleeping area at night. So there are lots of possibilities in these houses. This is where they've actually made the most of outdoor space, and this is another type of example of a tiny house or a tiny home. So the key to managing these tiny houses that UK needs to understand is that it is about maximizing space, and you maximize the space by using furniture which is multifunctional. So when I say multifunctional, I mean you use furniture which doesn't just do one thing. So you don't just have a chair. The chair is not just there to sit on. The chair actually does something else. So they have stools which you can sit on, but you can actually open the seat of the stool and there's storage inside, or you have a bed, or you have a chair which actually converts into a bed. So it's very multifunctional, and this is what maximizes the space.
That they open up.
So here is an example of how they have got seating area, but that seating area actually functions as their wardrobe.
And you've got cushions the whole way.
So you can see there, they flip it over and it's a cushion, you can sit on it, but you can see on the inside there's actually storage.
So you can flip over as many of those as you need. There is a dining table.
This will definitely work in UK's house. I wanted to imagine that if this is where her front door is, just have something like this there. You have one for Fortune, one for Roland, one for her, and just store all the clothes in, and then you just flip the things over, and then all of a sudden you have somewhere to sit. And you can imagine, if they're on wheels as well, you can bring them close together at night, and then you actually have a bed for both of them to sleep on. You just put maybe extra cushions and you have a bed. So there are lots of things that can be done.
On a également le lit secondaire, puisque c'est une unité pour deux personnes.
Now, this tiny house I absolutely love, and you can see what she says. It's a house for two people. We can actually sleep four. This is something that would definitely work for UK and her boys. So I want you to imagine that this is UK's door there, and as soon as she comes in, she has this couch which is on the side. And I want you to see, it's so beautiful the way that she converted this into a bed. I mean, I would do something different with the cushions. I would have these cushions here, not just on the seat, but also on the back as well, to convert into a mattress. But look at what she does.
Peut aussi accommoder 4 personnes. Donc, le lit secondaire se fait en ouvrant les tiroirs, comme ça ici. On appuie la double paroi.
So did you see that extra wood piece? So she had an extra piece of wood on the top, and she slid it across, and all of a sudden you have a bed, and it's actually on top of the drawers. Let me show you that again. That is just so beautiful. So you can see, and that's why I say it's so clever, because the drawers pull out, and then she puts that piece of wood on top of the drawers, but it's at the same level as this piece of wood. So all of a sudden you have the base for your bed. So now those cushions that were on top, she would now use that as a mattress. But like I said, what I would do is that I would actually have bigger cushions at the back. So those bigger cushions actually would now form the mattress for the boys to sleep on. Even UK could sleep on it, especially if you make these pieces of wood a lot wider all the way down there. All of a sudden at night you convert it and you have a bed.
Et puis on met les coussins dans l'autre sens.
So beautifully done. And then underneath, of course, these drawers, you could see inside, they had clothes inside those drawers, which could be pulled out.
Toutes des tiroirs de rangement, donc avec une grande profondeur.
So you can see, all very multifunctional. This is another example of, that bed with the drawers. And you can see on the opposite wall, they actually have a very thin cabinet where maybe you could have the TV there, you could have other things there. But if you actually made these drawers a lot wider, so it actually matched there, then all of a sudden you have a huge bedroom area at night. So like I said, lots of possibilities for UK's tiny house. And this here is just to basically show you what it would look like in UK's house. So it definitely is possible. So you can imagine this is her front door, and then here you would have the chair, and then here you'd have a very, very thin cabinet. So nothing is impossible in UK's tiny house.
Kester's man shed.
And then this, once again, is just showing you more storage underneath the seating area. And the thing I really want you to focus on...
He's got all of his tools.
It's a very tidy man shed.
It's a very tidy man shed, isn't it?
Not so manly.
I mean, you see how they pull out beautiful. You can get any carpenter in Nigeria to build this. All they've got to do is see it. And like I said, UK with a physics background, she will understand what really needs to be done. But Yeah, absolutely beautiful. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a piece of wood, very sanded down, beautiful hole, and beautifully designed. So,
And we've got
and
shoes
this I absolutely love, the shoe cabinet underneath
in here,
the
which I'm
chair.
quite proud of. This was my one little bit of
Look
woodworking.
at
I
that.
made the little shelves for all that.
Look at that, perfect. There's slanted shelves inside, and you just put your shoes inside. So, like I said, UK in that tiny house, even if you're going to be there for a year, maybe more than a year, you can actually make that house very comfortable for yourself.
So that's quite a lot of
and
space
for your sons.
a tiny house and shoes.
This once again shows you another example what you can do, and another example once again. So you can really play around with that house. Now, in terms of the table that you need to eat at, there are lots of things that people do inside tiny houses. One of the things you could do is just have like a simple table like here. But I mean, of course, that sticking out the whole time would really take up the space inside that tiny house. So there are other things that people would do with the table in a tiny house to make it easier to understand. So you can see here, once again, this table, which is sticking out here. What I would do is I would make a table which is folded down against the wall, and then you lift it up when you want to use it. So this is what I mean by a table which is folded down, something like this. But you can imagine that you lift up this part and then
so we checked a little.
This is another example of a table where they, pull out the table. I think this one is a bit too complicated, but it's just to show you
not knowing what
what's
we would use it
possible.
for, and eventually we made this table to fit the space, and so that comes out from there and is a fold down table that does coffee table height and dining table height and gets wider, and the table folds down.
And I like this table the best. You know why? Because behind the table, if you look how they fold the table down, behind it, there's more storage. So this is the reason why I said, you have to be very, very clever, when you have a tiny house, about making sure everything is multifunctional. Everything is about storage. You're hiding everything away. So when you go in there, everything looks very open, very white. UK has the right idea in that she painted that place white. So it looks very big. It looks very spacious. Now she just needs to make sure that the furniture that goes in there is multifunctional. So this table, very clever. Look at this.
And that's our eating space.
And then you have a table. I mean, this is another example of a table, but this one, she actually brings it out, and it's good. But I mean, the table will take up some space, but I do like the idea of this table as well.
Et de table à manger, qui est sur roulette, qu'on fait seulement sortir comme ça de son espace, et puis qu'on amène au salon dans l'air de vie.
And let me tell you one thing that is brilliant about Nigeria and Nigerians. Nigeria does not carry last, as we know. Nigeria has the skill. There's no carpenter. You go and find a good carpenter in Lagos. They'll be able to build all of these things for you with the best wood. Yeah, all you got to do is have the idea, use your physics background, and then you'll be able to do this. So what do they do in terms of chairs? So in terms of chairs, what they do to make it multifunctional is that they use stools like this. So they wouldn't just use a stool and just have a chair. They would have a stool which, if you took the top of this thing off, there'd actually be storage inside. You can sit on top of this. You can see this one, that the cover, they flipped it over, so it now becomes a tray. So when you have visitors, you can just serve them on that tray. So you're not having to bring out all of this big furniture. At the same time, this also serves as storage. And like I said, people can sit on it as well. So, a very multifunctional chair. And in terms of storage, you can do so many different things. So, the biggest thing I can see in this tiny house of UK's is the area on top of the door and on the left and the right side of the door. With very, very slim cupboards, even with doors, you can actually have a lot of storage there. Maybe the left side will be for one boy, the other side will be for the other boy, and on top is where you can actually store some of your things. But with a very good carpenter, you don't want it to be too wide so that it now eats into the space of the house. It can be very slim and very narrow, but there's a lot that you can do in terms of storage to hide things away, especially for your boys. You can imagine having those two cupboards there, one cupboard there, one cupboard there, some shelves on top, very narrow, and then here, like I said, is where you have your chair coming like that. Just those 3 or 4 things alone, you have created a lot of storage, especially if you now decide to put a very slim, and it has to be extremely slim, a very, very slim cupboard here where you can actually have your TV unit, but inside you can have very slim drawers. You can hide so many things away. So there is a lot that can be done. This is another example of storage. You can see here where you imagine if your door is where that window is, and you can see on top they've got storage there. You can actually open up this part here and you actually store things in there as well. So this is another example of storage. And this is what I say about things being very slim. You can see across here how slim this is, but you'd be surprised you could open this and actually fit things in there. Same thing with this panel as well. So there is a lot that you can do.
Storage space. Yeah.
You can see here, this is storage that someone has done once again, which could go on either side of the door, or it could even be that storage unit, which would be opposite the sofa. Very, very slim storage
We have these
that he's using. And then once again, you can see here, once again, very slim storage, which is being used there. So, you know, there's so many things that you can do. This once again is very, very slim storage. Maybe on the opposite side of the wall where the sofa is, you could actually build in very, very narrow storage there, but with these drawers coming out. So you can actually fit lots of things. So once you've closed it, everything is hidden away. Nobody can see what's inside there, but you can store a lot. So it's just about your imagination.
So what we want.
And this, of course, you've already built your house, so it might be something that you cannot do. But you can imagine, I just wanted to show this just to show how people rarely get the storage. So imagine where your kitchen and your bathroom is. What these people did, they didn't have the kitchen and bathroom at the same level as the living area. What they did, they made a step. So you can see there's a step here, and then that was their kitchen. And the reason why they did that is because underneath, they now had these huge drawers underneath.
Was use all the space
and this is where they were
so we do have a his and hers
storing
closet
all of
that
their
pulls
clothes,
out. Each
all of their
closet bay is
shoes.
about 7 feet by 3 feet. So they made great open drawers for us for our clothing.
And then the last thing is the doors. Now, you've already got your doors there, and there's nothing wrong with the doors, but you can imagine your physicist, you know what I mean, that, when you open those doors, it's going to eat into the space in the room. What would have been really, really nice, but it will be very expensive maybe to do, or maybe inconvenient to do now because you've got the doors there, are sliding doors. If you had sliding doors, one for the kitchen and one for the bathroom, it would have made sure that there would be no problem. And the good thing about having sliding doors is that you could have put, you've got your freezer there, and that freezer is, now blocking the door, so if you had a sliding door that just went across that opened the bathroom and then one for the kitchen, you would have found that your freezer now, you could have put it straight against the door. You can see here the sofa is straight against the door. Your freezer maybe could have been straight against that door, because all you have to do is slide the door to go into the bathroom, and that would have given you more space in the rest of the room. So like I said, these are just ideas just to let you know that you're sitting on something which is not as bad as you think. It's a tiny house. It's a worldwide thing. And the thing is UK actually starting this revolution for tiny homes in Africa. I mean, even in the UK now, like in London, for instance, which is so expensive, gone are the days you can come into London and get like a family house for 3 people. Absolutely not. This is the reason why many people that have come to Japa into the UK have avoided London like the plague. They've gone to places like Norwich, they've gone up north, they've gone to Lincoln, because things down there are extremely cheap. You can see YouTubers saying, yes, I've got a 3-bedroom house, 1,250. Forget that. That 1,250 in London, you'd be lucky to get a room in a shared house. So many people are looking at things such as tiny living spaces, tiny homes. And I think this is where not just the UK is going, but I think the rest of the world is going as well, especially in Nigeria, where accommodation is so expensive. So UK, if you play your cards right, think about designing this, you can get a lot of experience in building your tiny home that you can now use as a side hustle to start. As you said, you want to be a landlady, you can start to actually build and design things that will help people to have good quality accommodation in a very, very tiny space. So good luck, UK, with your tiny home.